Hey, disturbing listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. This is the Psychology in Seattle YouTube channel. And since it's a psychology YouTube channel, this may contain triggering material, so watch with care, truly. Talk with your therapist before you watch things that might trigger you. Let's watch.
You embarrassed?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. Is that my husband, Jimmy? I'm done. I'm going home. I'm packing my I'm going to get the airport, and I'm getting the out of Nigeria, and I don't ever want to look back.
Okay, and then she says, "Did you see how my husband did me? What was he supposed to do?" Like, what behavior or reaction from him were you looking for? I mean, for him to fall down on his knees and say, "I'm sorry, I did you wrong, and I'm a horrible, horrible human being. Please hit me more." Like, what were you hoping to happen? I mean, in all honesty, Michael proved himself in that moment to be a very good husband, a very good person. He protected you from yourself. He cried. He was hurt. He didn't become violent with you. So you couldn't have asked for a better reaction. You know, there's maybe better reactions, but reasonably there aren't better reactions.
I fight because I do believe in my marriage. I really take that serious. My intentions was to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really had hopes that we would click again. Right now, I'm hurt, but I still love him.
So, what's possibly happening is the abusive cycle has now resolved regarding the abusive phase. And she is now starting to feel bad. And then she will apologize. They will make up. Or not apologize, but she'll make a gesture of goodwill or something. She will suck him back in, and then we're right back to the cycle again. That could absolutely be happening. And for educational purposes, when you are in an abusive relationship, and for those of you who have been, you can attest to this, that often a deceptive element of abusive people is that they might be very sorry for what they did, or at least in their way, they will exhibit. You know, if Angela were to, I don't know, send a heart text, you know, a smiley face text to him right now, in relation to her behavior, it would be a huge difference, right? The abusive behavior and then a heart emoji that she sends. So that's what a lot of abusive cycles will involve. That for you as the victim, you're just like, whoa, look what they did. The difference between the massive abuse I experienced last night and this heart emoji, there's a huge distance between that. But because you're gaslit and affected by the relationship, you don't realize that the heart emoji is like par for the course in a regular relationship. That's what people normally do. So what should be happening is they should be apologizing 100 times and on their knees and crying and "I'm so sorry." And that can happen as well. But they should also be going to therapy and obviously working on things so that it never happens again. They should be explicitly saying, "I should never have done that. I have an anger problem." Now, some abusive relationships, the cycle will involve that. The individual, the abusive person will come around and say, "I have a problem. I'm going to therapy. I'm so sorry." But without proper help and without a firm commitment to the entire process, because it takes a lifetime to really rid yourself of all of these tendencies and all the traumas that informed it, and all the misogyny or the racism or whatever it is. It takes, you know, it's like, how do you deprogram yourself after 54 years of being in a racist echo chamber, which I can't know that she's in. But anyway, it takes a long time, obviously, but you'll see someone that might even become that apologetic. They might really nail the apology and they might apologize for a week and it might be very convincing. But without proper help and without a real commitment and without really working on it, eventually they might come back. And so I say this because if you're in this relationship, it can trick you to be like, well, you know, if he was really abusive, if she was really abusive, she wouldn't apologize for it. She wouldn't recognize that she was abusive. So I must not be in an abusive relationship. And obviously that might not be true, right? So we can use this as a potential demonstration of that process. And I guess we'll just have to monitor it.
Last night I was feeling all he's put me through in the last few months. I got it out of my system. And now I'm calm this morning because I realized, quit feeling sorry for my own self. It is what it is. There's no more talking. I don't have no more fight left. That's it.
Okay, I don't know what that means exactly, but I'm worried that she is framing this as she might do often after being abusive, that she, you know, I don't know if I included it, but she said, I got it out of my system. Meaning maybe that, okay, now I can return to him and he can apologize and then we can be in a good relationship. Or is she saying right now, I've said all I wanted to say, and I guess the relationship is over? I don't know.
And I'm going to go relieve some stress. Last night, things got so heated. It was like worse than a nightmare. So I just changed my flights, and I'll be leaving Nigeria later today. And you know what? As soon as I get off the plane, I'm going to my lawyer's office, and I'm filing for divorce and pulling the visas.
Okay. So maybe this is the end? Is this the end? Are we witnessing the end?
How are you feeling? Last night got pretty intense.
It damn sure did. Seeing how I acted last night, you know, I asked myself, should I have done that differently? I do apologize for, you know, what I did to his car. But you know what? All of the shady stuff Michael's trying to pull really makes me think that he's going to be talking to other women on social media.
Okay, so they edited that, I think, pretty clearly. But if we're going to analyze apologies, which is what I've been diving into a lot lately, if you want to listen to my deep dive on apologies, you can become a patron. If you already are a patron, you hopefully have already listened to at least some of it. And she did that classic non-apology tactic, which is, I apologize, but. Now, it's not always a guarantee, but usually that means you are essentially negating your apology. You know, hey, I'm sorry I hit you, but you completely deserved it. That's not an apology. You're saying the words sorry, but you're not actually sorry or apologizing. The other thing is she says to the producer as she's being interviewed, I apologize for damaging his car, but she should be apologizing to Michael, of course. Did she apologize to him? And I would be worried that even if she did apologize, that it would just be a part of the abusive cycle.
And when you're hurt, you don't sit there and sugarcoat, do you?
Right. So justifications is what she's saying. When you're hurt, you don't sugarcoat things. So abusers will use a pretty elaborate system of rhetoric to justify their abuse. You pushed me to it. When I'm emotional, you know how I get. This is how I am. Or this is how people are from my culture, people say. You know, this is how women are. This is how men are. This is how Americans are. This, you know, abusive people will use anything. And part of it is they're actually trying to justify it to themselves because a part of them knows that it's not okay or they suspect it isn't. And they're trying to uphold their own ego by having these justifications.
You want to try a light one or?
Yeah, we're not trying to be bodybuilders.
Use one on this side too.
Okay.
Thank God you didn't have one of these last night.
I did what I did, but he brought that drama out of me, man.
He brought that drama out of me. It's his fault. The victim, it's their fault. It's Michael's fault that I lied to him repeatedly to deceive him into not knowing I was coming out to see him. It's his fault that I openly flirted with another man. It's his fault that I have been controlling him economically. It's his fault that I showed up at his place drunk and belligerent and banging on his door and screaming and calling him names on the phone and then in person. It's his fault that when he finally did arrive that I charged him and attacked him physically, he had to defend himself by very calmly and nicely holding my hands back. It's his fault that I yelled at him and vandalized his car and threatened him and called him all sorts of names. It's his fault that when he started to cry because he was naturally hurt at all the abuse I was doing to him, that it's his fault that I ridiculed him for crying. It's his fault.
Did you talk to him today?
No. And he keeps texting me, like, you know, I showed up to Nigeria, didn't give him warning. He said I had no right there without giving him heads up. Well, I didn't know my wife has to give her husband heads up.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious, but, you know, just to break it down, just because you're married doesn't mean you can lie. Just because you're married doesn't mean you can abuse someone. Yeah, I mean, the mental gymnastics she plays to justify things, you know. Yeah.
Right.
To go see their husband.
Yeah, and you know what upset me too? When you knocked on the door, he should have just came outside and it would have been over right then and you wouldn't have been pissed. Reflect.
Oh, so are they saying that he was home, but he came around from a different door? Or I wasn't seeing, okay. So it sounds like he was inside and came out later. And, you know my position on that.
Looking back on last night, that's not a proud moment. I'm not condoning the behavior, but I'm also accepting it because at the time of the moment, I know where Angela was emotionally.
So again, it's not an apology that she is providing, and why would she? Well, I guess she probably does. She does owe Michael an apology. She was complicit in essentially a crime of vandalism and intimidation and threats. You know, if it's something to know, because not everyone knows this, that if your friend, Angela, is committing crimes and you are with her and you're doing nothing to stop her or walk away, you could be seen as, I don't know, there's different terms for it, but you could be charged with either the crime or being complicit with the crime, right? So anyway, she is saying, I'm not condoning her behavior because, again, I think she knows there's something wrong with it. And her behavior, by the way, because she was yelling and screaming too. Just imagine, again, if we reverse the genders, two men show up at the house. One is your partner and his friend, and they're banging on the door and screaming and tearing apart your car. Some of you have probably even been through this situation. This is a situation where you absolutely call the cops, and those two individuals need to go to jail. They need to be detained. That is a highly criminal, volatile situation. Anyway, so she says, look, I'm not condoning her behavior, but I am condoning it. It's like, let's rewind that.
I'm not condoning the behavior, but I'm also accepting it because at the time of the moment, I know where Angela was emotionally.
Now, I don't know precisely what she's saying. She could be saying, I support Angela. I don't think what she did was okay, but I support her because I know where she was emotionally or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's always hard to know exactly what's going on with the friends because they're only given these little sound bites.
And Michael's behavior didn't necessarily help the situation.
You never know.
What was Michael supposed to do? I've already been over this, but what behavior could Michael have done that would have made things better? And even if there was something, is that what is fair, that you show up abusively and deceptively and you're in the process of threatening him? And I mean, just imagine that your wife shows up, thousands of miles, travels to your house. You've done nothing wrong. Shows up to your house, is screaming at you from outside the house, threatening you, threatening violence, calling you names. What could he have done? Like, what did he do?
And what I'm remorseful for about last night is that my marriage has gotten to this point. Like, even no matter what he's done, and I get upset, Michael's always had my feelings in hand.
Yikes. So, yeah, we're seeing the cycle. It happened. I don't know why I thought otherwise. Like, she was talking about getting her flight changed so she would fly back soon. We're seeing the cycle. We've seen it many, many times. The same abusive cycle. Just Google it. Google abusive cycle. There are many depictions, many explanations. They're all probably pretty good. We're seeing that right now. And I guess it all depends on Michael. Does he let it happen? Is he gaslit to the point where he doesn't know how to evaluate the situation properly? Now, I don't know. It's just upsetting to watch.
You know, there's no sorries no more. He's cocky. Did you see how he loved the car more than he loved me?
Yeah, he was pretty pissed.
So she's saying there's no sorries anymore. He's cocky. Yeah, you'll hear abusive people say things like that, when in reality, the victim is just starting to stand up for themselves, or they have proper support or something.
It's like he loves social media more than he loves me. I'm not tolerating it. Like, why should I keep putting effort, all this energy, in trying to change him if he really just used me for the visa?
I knew you were going to come here and raise hell and be pissed, and you got that. And now it's time to have a conversation, to say, okay, Michael, I was pissed when I saw you. I'm over that part. Let's move on. Let's have a conversation. Meet me at a restaurant tomorrow. It's just you and I. You even sit.
Yeah. I mean, the whole way that the two of them are framing it is just like, look, he deserved it. You let him have it. And now you can have a conversation so that he can apologize. Jeez.
Apart from him from the table, if he's not trusting it.
There's nothing left to say, Renee.
I know every relationship has its problems, but this is just too much. Michael exhausts me. I'm 56 years old. I can't afford to keep wasting valuable time on Michael. I deserve to be with somebody that brings me that happiness and joy that's missing in my life.
I deserve to be with someone other than Michael. Me.
Are you going to honestly feel good getting on a plane and not seeing him face to face? I mean, be 100% honest.
I'm not going to be happy with this kind of Michael.
You're just done.
I've gave it all.
Mm-hmm.
We're almost there with the visa. And I worked hard. I'm not even going to get a shot.
Now, I've been pretty surly in reaction to her, which isn't good. It's not a good look. I'm not proud of that. I don't like that. It's not how I like to be. I've been rolling my eyes. I've been exasperated. I want to be clear that if she were my client, not only would I not exhibit that, but I wouldn't really feel those feelings. There's something different when I'm watching non-clients do things, right? You know, I think sometimes people think that therapists are in this constant state of compassion and giving or something, and it's not really humanly possible. When I see something in public, it's not like I go, oh, I know that you have an inner child. Like, I might see a little bit of that, and I might do that kind of, but certainly not in all situations, right? When I'm not working with my clients, I'm in the real world, and I feel free to kind of be myself. Now, at the same time, I need to be careful because some of y'all and other people might think that my behavior on this channel is somehow representative of therapists in general. And I do want to represent my profession well so that people can have not only a good but accurate point of view about therapists. Often people don't because of stigma and, I don't know, other kinds of propaganda. So I want to say that. But also, I think what's going on for me is and I think I've said this before with Angela, that normally with clients, I have some kind of hope because I am in contact with the situation and I'm working on it. You know, there's a path forward. The client is still coming to therapy. But in this situation, that's not true, right? So I'm just watching abuse happen. And for me, and I've experienced abuse. I've seen abuse, obviously, outside of my office, outside of my clinical work. And I have feelings about it. I have issues with it, I suppose. And we've all been treated unfairly, at the very least. So when I witness that, I get upset, get angry. You know, I can feel my own experiences sort of with being treated unfairly. And so I'm reacting from that place, which is normal. But what do we do with that, right? Is it good, so to speak, to mock and to roll our eyes and to ridicule? No. It is better to talk about myself and to take care of myself and to recognize that we all have wounds, me included, around being treated unfairly or abused. And that watching this triggers that for me. Angela's living her life, and Michael's living his life, and they're doing their thing. God knows what's really even happening in real life. But for me, I usually am coming from that place. It's not hard for me to come from that place, but with Angela, it's hard. So I don't know. I just want to say that.
Don't get upset because
I'm not.
I feel bad what Angela's going through, but this is a long way to come for love. We came here for her to work on her marriage, and as her friend, it wouldn't be good if I just let her leave and she didn't get answers and had unfinished business. I need her to stay. I need her to talk to him.
Why do you need her to stay? Why do you need her to talk to him? What's it to you? Your friend is saying she's done and she doesn't want to see him. And certainly from our perspective, I don't know what you feel, but as a citizen, I'm watching this, I'm like, yeah, Angela, go home, cancel the visa, end of story.
I feel bad what Angela's going through, but this is a long way to come for love. We came here for her to work on her marriage, and as her friend, it wouldn't be good if I just let her leave and she didn't get answers.
Oh, okay. Well, I could see that. So she believes as a friend, she's like, look, we're all the way over here. There's an opportunity at least to get answers, maybe even to reconcile. And so I'm going to advocate for that, for my friend to do that. That, look, I know you're upset, but for your own sake, you probably should meet with him. Okay. You know, I could see, I don't agree, but I could see that.
It's been less than 24 hours. We went to bed at 5 o'clock this morning. It's very emotional for you. Very emotional for him. He needs to take it all in. You have a few more days that you booked here. Stay till tomorrow or the next day. Just chill.
I don't know.
You can't get on a plane and not have a conversation with that man. You can't leave it like that. As your friend, I know you'll get home and you're going to have a whole bunch of what ifs.
Right. Now that I can understand and get behind that. Especially from her perspective as a friend, seeing her in between times when she is in contact with him, you know, when they're actually together. So she knows, and it's very likely that they go home and then the whole cycle just starts all over again. So the friend is like, look, you're here. You have a chance to actually clarify this relationship and figure it out one way or the other. So you should take advantage of that because you might not see him in person for a long time. And what if you go home and you have all this uncertainty and you'll think, oh, if only I had figured out when we were in person. Having said all that, until Angela gets massive amounts of help, which of course would have to be preceded by her admitting that she is an abusive or at least someone who has some massive issues, until that happens, I personally, as a citizen, have zero hope for this relationship being not what it always has been, if not worse than it has been. All right, well, if you didn't already, we have a website. Of course, why would we not? But sometimes people are like, oh, I didn't know you had all this stuff on the website. So you can go there. We're currently working on potentially revamping it and making it more user-friendly. So you can look out for that. Also, we have an audio podcast in which you can listen on your phone and subscribe on your podcast app if you're interested. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.